What's up, guys? Today we have a free bike. It was a while ago when I was getting my out of my building, and I found this bike with a free post-it on it, and I was like, "Well, uh, is it my lucky day? Let's let's try it." Got it. Put it on my apartment. Then at the end of the day, went to work. At the end of the day, came back and took a look at it. And the bike was actually complete as it is. It didn't have that pouch over there, but that was the only thing. It was complete. Only it needed a little bit of work. And let me go through it. So this is a decathlon bike, which is heavy and sturdy. That's their thing. And even these cranks are steel, not even aluminium. So of course, as you can see, it's a how to say a foldable bike, right? And it was folded. At the time, I was like, "What is this thing? Is it a wheelchair?" But then I understood it was a folding bike. It also folds the handlebars over there, so it kind of folds twice. And it's funny because when it's folded, it supports this part of the frames. The frame becomes one of its extremities. So at some point it needs some support. So this goes on to the floor, and it's the front support instead of the front wheel, because the front wheel goes on to the meet the rear one. So it is a really good bike. It has a very upright position, and all of it is steel, which is fine. Only it needed a little bit of work. So you see this rust on the seat post, and I don't know the dimension of it, the diameter, but it's a funny one. It's not standard. It should be like 34, 35. So it was the seat post when I found the bike. These bikes go for 250 euros new. They're still sold, selling them. So the seat post was stuck on the seat tube. It was stuck all the way, I believe, all the way from the top onto the bottom of it. Because, as you can see, it looks nasty, but it's because it has some lubricant paste, and trying to prevent further rusting. So it was rusted and therefore stuck onto the seat tube on all these sections. So the saddle was really, really low. I needed to get it up, but I couldn't. Well, funny, right? So one of the things I did was to get the bike onto this support, flipping it upside down, and start to hammer on the seat tube with a screwdriver. I trashed later, of course, like crazy from top to bottom, right? Trying to push it out. Also, removed the saddle and hit it. And at some point, I was hitting the seat tube back and forth, trying to create a little bit of play on it. It took me like 2 or 3 days to get it out. Why? Because it really was. I don't want to say welded. It was glued together. It was mashed together. The rest of the two parts, right? The seat tube and the seat post. So that's one thing you usually go with usually happens with steel frames. If the bike is not properly used, at some point, shit gets stuck together and it's a mess to get it out. Uh, why today is because I left a little bit of a WD 40 trying to penetrate the whole seat tube. I mean, this video is kind of lewd at this point, isn't it? I let a little bit of WD 40 and gave it time to penetrate the whole thing and go all the way to the back of it again. All right. So once I could move the whole seat post, removed it, cleaned the whole seat tube, and got it properly cleaned and lubricated, and in a way uh, isolated from further oxidation. Did the same on the seat post. Should be fine now, and that was it. No, I only thing I put was a straight through bolt uh, through the seat clamp, so that no one steals the. I mean, at least the saddle. Why? Because this is a good dimension to have it, and let's leave it there. Also, this part was in a really good condition. Only lubricated it and left it at that. The same one with this one. Now the bike has a little bit of use, not a lot. But one thing I did was to swap the how do you call it? Not a handbar, the grips. And for these ones, which you can leave your palm in here with a little bit more comfort. Why? Why not? And also, because this is a comfort bike, there's no need to have any extra light thing. So if I could have a little bit of more comfort with it, let's do it then. They are pretty grippy in a way, right? So now these are the original levers. Only thing I did was to trim a little bit of the cable there because it was bent. It had a kink over there. But this cable organizer, so that it doesn't flap around too much, and switch the inner cables. So now they are both Jaguar. The outers are also, they came with the bike, but they are Jaguars, which is fine. Also put this Shimano power modulators. In a way, I hate them because they're not that performancy. But for this bike, I just thought they would give a nice touch, a nice comfort touch, right? This is a cruiser, or not a cruiser, but a bike for more chill times, right? So I put one over there, another one over here. They are new parts, of course, and they work nicely. Now, because I'm a cheap fuck, one thing I did was to sand the pads. These are the original pads. They had a little bit of aluminium on them, and they were squeaky as hell. I sand them down. They still have a little bit of rubber to wear down, so that's fine. Why spend money when I don't need to? These are some Chinese Alonga brakes all over from here to onto the levers, which is fine. They are fine. Now the wheels were all over the place. They were wobbly like crazy. I kind of, because I don't know how do people do this. Let me see if I can find the spoke. How is it? How do people do this? How is it possible? What happened there? What what do you have to do? I mean, this is it a 32 spoke wheel? Let's say it is for now. How can you be so dumb or so I don't know what's the word. Is it someone that doesn't know how to cycle that hits the pavement so hard that it just the spoke penetrates through it, rips apart the whole rim? I don't know. It's kind of crazy because and then you see the step in there on the brake on the pad surface. It at the moment it ripped through the rim. I guess it mm, kinked the whole rim, and then one part of it came out. Crazy. And then used it like it was nothing, and the pad just smoothed it out together along the years, I guess. But I relieved the tension on both. So this spoke pushes to one side, and for me, because I don't want to spend any money on this bike, shit already did with the grips, but whatever. And I just relieved a little bit of tension on the other ones, and also on the other side, on the opposite side, so that the wheel doesn't move out of. It's not offset. It's on the plane of the wheel. It doesn't move up, right? So you have to, anytime you do any change on one side of the wheel, you have to do the equivalent, not the reverse, the equivalent onto the other side. So because there were no tension over here, relieve the tension on these two, and then, which means I have three spokes with lesser tension, and then I had to go onto the other side and relieve the tension, more or less the same, on three of the spokes on the other side. That was it. And also just a little bit of housekeeping on the other ones, but that was more or less it. Lubricated the chain. Now this is a pretty shitty crankset. Look at this. Hang on. It has a lot of play, vertical play. You can see it, but it's tilting from one side to the other. So the bottom bracket is done, and also because this crankset is steel, what I'm gonna do is to, at some point when I swap the bottom bracket, because for now it is relatively smooth. Let's leave it at that. But later I'll just change the whole thing. It's a single speed, so should be easy. The pedals are done also, but again, it was a free bike. I aligned the front wheel, and that was pretty much it. So at some point I put that thing over there because sometimes it is handy and I didn't have any other place to put it, so why not put it on this bike? So sometimes luck is on your side. It is actually a really good bike. I just pumped some air on the tires, and it is a perfectly functional bike. Just changed the cables, aligned the wheels, lubricated the chain, got the seat tube out, and it's another thing. And I got a new bike, so it's another thing, which is people don't really like to make the effort to things, to have things right. I don't know what to tell you. The math I do is the following: a new bike like this one costs $250. Say, let's assume the person that had the bike and just gave up on it um, earns, I don't know, let's say $50 a day. Who knows? $50 a day, or who knows? Let's just stick with it. So that means that this bike would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. If he needs to or she needs to buy another bike like this one, she needs or he needs to buy to work for 5 days. So I didn't lose 5 days on this bike, which means that if the person just to make things simple, if the person gives up on this bike and doesn't work on it for 5 days, it has to just give up on the bike, give up on 5 days of work, and then buy a new bike just like this one. On the other hand, I lost like a few hours. It's not even a day, but let's call it a day. I lost $50 on it with the same math. I lost $50 on it, and I have a foldable bike, which gives me a redundancy for my commuter bikes. Anytime I have someone over here and I want to lend him or her a bike, I can do it. And that's it. If you have the tools and the will to make things work, things will eventually work. So don't give up on things, because laziness will cost you money. And maybe the time, and the bike was ready to ride. The only thing I did with it and made me lose it a little bit more time was to align the wheels and get some small things, like I cleaned the inner part of these tubes because it was full of dirt, and I put this bolt in because it just had the bolt, a hole on it, and a lot of dirt got inside. So I cleaned it off because OCD, and put these bolts in. It just had the threads over there. It is for for racks. Got the pads sanded off, and bought these things which were actually cheap. Switched the cables because I had them. I didn't pay anything for the cables. Actually, I didn't switch both. I didn't buy two cables. I didn't put in two new cables. What I did was to put the back cable, the rear cable, onto the front, trimmed it halfway, and put a new cable on the rear brake, which is the longest one. So that way you just spend one cable per bike. And it's one thing I usually do. For bikes, I really don't care too much, and it's just like each cable goes for €1.5 or something. So instead of spending €3, I just spend 1.5, because the mid portion of the rear brake it's usually fine. It's only from halfway onto the rear part of it, rear section of it, that it starts to get rusty because of what I get into it. That's the only thing. And that was it. So yeah, and I found this bike to be really comfortable because of the cycling position. And that's it. So it's another bike. And is there any moral of the story? Maybe. Don't give up on things, just like the previous video. Don't sell things. Who knows if don't giving up on things it's actually a good thing? Why give up on things? Sometimes you give up on things when you're at 90%. You just need 10% more, and you have, at the end, you'll end up with the whole 100%. Thing is that usually people give up at 90%. What happens is that they don't get the 100%, and they already spent the 90%. So it's only a loss at that point. Just stick around a little bit longer, and that's it. It's all right. Just a fun little bit of video. Hope to see you on the next one. Like, subscribe, and I see you on the next one. Bye bye.